Yep, it's working. Thank you. Sier jeg han til å begynne med, da? Nei, da må jeg liksom gå dit, da. Ja, kanskje du skal... Sånn, da. Oi! Let it be light. Yeah. Okay.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Let's start the session. So we had, sorry for the delay, because we felt we need to give people enough time for refreshment after the previous session. Before starting the presentations, there are a few announcements I need to read. First of all, do we have any speaker which is supposed to give a presentation tomorrow here? Okay, so you need to follow the minimum font size for your presentation tomorrow. It's supposed to be 24. That's the only thing for speakers tomorrow. Oh, really? So you need to have a minimum font size, okay? Two more things. We will have evening fun items, village scene fun items. So see notice board for list. In the lawn near lunch area from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the other thing, today evening, we also have entertainment at 7 p.m. followed by cocktail reception. Okay, having all of these, let's have the first presentation by Sigmund and Eric. Because you know it's 15 minutes and...
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Cool. Hello everyone. My name is Sigmund and his name is Eirik. And we both work for a construction company in Norway called Veidekke. And we're going to talk about an ongoing development project we have in that construction company, which we call Winning the Bid. And you can switch to the next one. Thank you. Yeah, and what's the problem we would like to talk about in this paper we present here? Well, in construction, bidding is a major part of the business. And in our unit, which is one of, I think, 20 units within Veidekke, we prepare about 30 bids every year. And of course, with the intention to win every bid we develop. And also, a part of the problem is that bidding, it is an effortful process. It's time-consuming. It requires a lot of skills, competence, and it's also very capacity-consuming. And also the bidding competition, the ones we take part in, they are usually highly unpredictable. So, and well, part of the result we experience based on that is that we only win between 40 to 50% of all the bids we prepare every year. And it's, if you compare it to the average in the industry, it's fairly good. But of course, we want to win every bid we develop. So in that respect, it's not good at all. And also, what we experience is that the percentage of projects won, it varies substantially between different markets. In some markets, we are quite strong. And we win almost every bid we prepare, whereas in others, it's close to none. And that is, of course, it worries us. And bidding is also combined with a high degree of uncertainty. That's quite important because in many of the bids we develop, we commit to a pretty large sum without knowing the risks involved. So it's a kind of a quite risky business being involved in a bidding competition. So what we ask in this ongoing development project is that, is there a way we can standardize the bidding to speed up the process? Because right now it's too capacity consuming, too slow. At the same time as the bids we offer, we would like them to have a high return rate. And especially in some of the markets we involve in, we would like it to be higher. And of course, as well as to have a lower level of uncertainty combined with the bids we develop. So that's part of the problem we try to solve in this ongoing development project. Yeah.
So, we also say that in IDLC we are doing two things basically. We are getting projects and we are executing projects. Okay, sorry. So this paper is focused on the executing, the get project part. And we believe that all our projects have a physical part and a virtual part. So we are focusing on the project development and also the tender part of the project. So when we are working with the project, we are putting on all this expertise with all their experience, with a lot of tacit knowledge. So the key thing here is to have this virtual part of the project, to store all the decisions and the things about this project people are working with. So everybody can change and use the total of experience in the project. Also, we see that there's often not the same people that working in project development as the same people as the people that are working in tender and design and so on. So it's pretty crucial for us to be sure that the information are stored and reach the next people that working with the project. So we see the BIM as information source that is really good showing the digital representation of the project we are going to build. Because all this work in the get project part is a bit abstract if you don't know or you don't see and you understand the project a different way. So everything we do with the digital model in this part of the project we call digital prototyping. So when the client comes to us with some ideas of a project, or maybe he or she has a piece of land that they want to develop, we do together with the client ask and find out what's the requirements and the expectations. The client comes back to us, or we agreed with what's the purpose of this project and the goal for the client. Is this a project for the client that should be environmental focus on, how it's going to be built, structurability, square meters? Do he wants to know, or do we have some level of this is the square meter I have to have, or everything? And these parameters can be a list of many. So then we're starting to work with the project. We're then starting to do first run studies. We do BIM from the start, and we have structurized the information in the BIM to be together with 4D and visualization and the cost parameters. So we could go all these loops with the client, showing your parameter is scoring this high or this low. If we put on the floor more or bring out the basement, this is what you get. So this is a process that could last for 1 week, a couple of months, or a couple of years, the development part. So when the client just say he's satisfied with the project that we have developed, we go over to tender and we do a complete tender of the project, the cost estimation. And every tender we do is then stored in a database that we could use the information of this tender compared with historical tenders. So we can do analysis of the quality and the cost parameters of all the projects that we do. So this is an overview of the workflow. We have then we have focused on the estimation here, but what we are saying in Veidekke now is we have two steps to bid, 1 step to learn. So in the estimation part there, you see the rough estimation, because the part before is a prioritization, that should we do the project or should we not. So in the estimation part, we have this decision loop going with the client, and also data. Sorry, we do data collection there as well. Yeah, and when the client is satisfied, as I said before, we go over to tender, and the client do another decision, and also we do analytics of every tender.
So I may add here that what has traditionally been the situation when we deal with a customer at an early stage or a potential customer is that it takes, as Eric just mentioned, it takes too long. It can last for several years. And if we are getting better at doing this, using this rough estimation, putting up like a early model showing some of the main priorities for the customer, you can speed up the process and you make well, the client making more clarified decisions based on what he really wants. Because typically early, the client doesn't really know exactly what he wants. So, and using the model makes it clear for him to understand what he actually would need. And also by putting the cost elements into the model, it makes this, of course, easier for him to make a decision. So that's part of the whole idea about structuring this bidding process into some steps and not forcing the client, but helping him to make the right decisions, maybe earlier than that was the case earlier for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And by structurizing and standardization also the information flow that we also are doing, we could be pretty fast coming up with the alternatives and
So and what we think is that, well, we think that maybe using some principles from target value design and choosing by advantages in particular might be useful in this process. We haven't tried that yet, but we think it makes sense, because what we do here is to make costs or value for the customer. We make that an input in the early phase of development of the project instead of an output. So, so in that case, we think that, well, there are some principles here that could be useful for us to apply, even though this is not the construction part of the later project. This is much earlier. So, yeah. Yeah, so these are our concluding remarks. We think that this stepwise approach may help us to standardize the bidding process by we're trying to apply this slogan now in our our bidding teams that these 2 steps to bid and 1 step to learn. And of course, the main idea behind that is to do the things right and in the right order. We would like first to prioritize together with the customer. We would like to estimate together with the customer, and always also evaluate the bidding process. Even though you don't win the project, it's always important to evaluate what went wrong and what went right in this project, in this bidding process. So, and we also think that using BIM will help the client and us to get a deeper understanding of his and her requirements, and of course, of the many uncertainties involved. And by using virtual mock-ups based on information pulled from earlier bids, you get a more complete idea of all the cost elements, the main cost elements in the project, and also many things related to the constructability of the project. Because you make major decisions often at an early stage of a development of a project that has tremendous influence on the constructability of the later project. So it's by having this process here, we think that we can make this better. So, and we also think that applying target value design to win the bids at the right cost, it makes sense for us in order to establish the target value and to guide the client through our structured decision making by choosing by advantages. Of course, choosing by advantages, one important principle is there, as far as I understood it, is to wait talking about costs until you made a lot of priorities and then come up with the cost elements. But of course we know when we have discussions with the client at an early stage, the cost elements always come up. So in one way or another, you have to include that. So yeah, thank you. We're done.